welcome to the Sublime Soiree. I'm Linda, and today we are continuing our conversation about the VIPs on our guest list, our families. And we're going to be doing that with a special conversation about inviting orphans into our families.
Yes, Linda, we are excited to introduce two families who have opened their homes to fostering. Please join us in welcoming Emilie and Jessica to the soiree table. Mm-hmm. Ladies, can you each tell us a little bit about yourselves?
So I'm Emilie, and my husband and I have been married for almost 11 years, and we currently have 4 kiddos in our home. We have 2 biological daughters, our son who's adopted through foster care, and a little baby girl with us right now. We have been fostering for almost 5 years this summer, and I think that about covers it.
I'm Jess Swagger. Me and my husband started fostering 3 years ago, and we have 5 girls, 2 biological and 3 fostered through foster care. We are in the process of adopting them.
That's great. Emilie, when and how did you and your family decide to step into fostering?
So it was right after our second daughter was born. Okay. I knew immediately that we were done with biological children and that God was opening the door to fostering, and I just had a very clear sense. Okay. My husband, on the other end, came through a little bit different avenue. He was interested in adoption at some point in our family life. He has lots of adoption on his side of his family, his dad and several cousins, but fostering was not something he was comfortable with. But God really got a hold of him and changed his heart, and we started taking classes, and we were licensed through Summit County Children's Services, like I said, about 5 years ago, and it's been a ride ever since. So
I bet. How about you, Jessica?
So we came through it at a little bit of a different angle. We had started the fostering classes. Cody and I knew that we wanted to be foster parents. And then within probably a few months of starting the classes, we got a phone call about 2 students from my place of employment, First Glance. And so we knew it was a yes. And then we got a call a day later saying there was a sister, a little sister. So, so that was 3 years ago on Friday, and we have just been in it since. We got licensed and completed all the process through Summit County Children's Services.
Okay, all right.
So ladies, we know you have a deep motivation to open your homes and to foster. Can you share with us how you came to that?
Yeah, ours was through growing up. I was adopted as an infant through foster care, and I knew that that's what I would wanted to do in the future. I saw how God really plucked me out of chaos, addiction, and put me in safety with a loving home. It wasn't perfect, but God just orchestrated that in my life. Cody had foster brothers and sisters growing up, and so he had also experienced that. So we had saw the way God had, for myself, had loved me and protected me through it, and he had saw that through his siblings, and so we had just knew that was something eventually we would want to do.
Okay. And we just had a deep sense that our home and our time and our energy were meant to be shared, and at different points in our marriage, God has opened up doors for that to happen. So right now in this season, it's foster care. But yeah, it's just that continual, we're not living this for ourselves, we're sharing it, and what does that look like? So foster care fits the bill right now.
Right. Yeah. We know that there are tough lessons that can be learned in this season of fostering. What have been the toughest lessons that you ladies have experienced, and what have been the greatest joys, and what are the myths that you'd like to dispel?
I'd say my greatest joy is kind of happening right now. So my son, he is 4.5 years old, and he came to us as a 6-week-old little baby. And so we have since reopened our home after adopting him. We've reopened to taking placements again. And so I'm getting to watch him be the big brother to these kiddos who he has this strange, awesome connection with them. It's like he is sensitive to what they've been through. Even though he can't verbalize any of it, he knows. He just knows. And so watching him minister, truly minister to these babies is just incredible every single day. And just the sensitivity he has. And he really is learning the language of birth parents and adoption and all of this that he is able then to talk with them about. And it's really cool to watch him really have his own ministry in our home. And he says he wants to be a foster dad when he grows up. So just things like that where I'm like, okay, God knew where he, again, plucked him out of the situation for a far greater purpose that we don't even know yet.
Right.
So
That's
that is really joy.
I think one of the hard parts about this journey has been fear and the unknown, the fear of grieving a child that could be reunified and getting attached to a child, and then them reunifying, and that there also being joy in that. Like there's a lot of joy in that a family has been made whole again. And so, but there is a lot of fear that you could get attached to a child and they could leave. But trusting and seeing that God is for this family, is for this child, and has went before us and already knows this child's story, is a lot of comfort to me. And I would say our biggest joy in foster care is just our family and seeing the way our whole family is in this ministry and in this mission. It's not me going to work 9 to 5 and then coming back and telling my kids about it. It's us living this together. And being on mission every day together. We've experienced the joy of and the scare and being scared of bringing a placement home and it being unknown to all of us and changing and growing together. We've been doing it for 3 years. So it's been a lot, but it's also been really beautiful to see my 6-year-old understand and love. And even going to the visitation center and them just loving other children that are also in foster care. It's really encouraging.
That is. And I think those are things that people just don't really know about fostering.
And it seems scary.
Right.
When you have little biological children, to put them in a place where they're experiencing attachment.
Right. So perhaps that's one of the myths is that I can't do it. I can't do it because I don't have the strength. I'm too afraid, that kind of thing. But what are some other myths that you two would love to be able to dispel?
Well, one that goes along with our kiddos, our kiddos that are already in our home, that it would be too hard on them or that it would hurt them in some way. And I feel like it has only made my parenting and my kids' growth in the Lord that much stronger for them having been foster siblings to the kiddos in our home. So, I don't see a negative impact at all.
Yeah, one of our biological daughters, when we had found out we had gotten permanent custody, which is sad because that family is now forever not going to be reunified, and also joyful that they're never going to leave and we're going to be able to adopt them. And one of my little biologicals said, I'm just so sad that they're never going to go home. But I'm so happy that they're my sister forever. And I was like, I feel that. I feel that as their mother. Like, it's, you can have both. And I feel like my 6-year-old and 8-year-old are seeing at such a young age that you can have both.
Yes.
Another myth I would like to dispel too is that birth families are not the enemy. So often when you choose to start fostering, you can't help it, but you come into it with a kind of savior mindset, like, I'm going to scoop up this little innocent child and protect them. Yes, foster care is about protection, but we're protecting them not from certain people, but a certain situation. And so learning to see birth families for the broken people that they are, who have been part of a cycle that is generational, that they are in need of every single bit of empathy and compassion that you have toward their child needs to be directed at them too. The boundaries are appropriate. There's all kinds of places, ways to make it safe for your child, but to not view their family as the enemy
Yes.
is a huge groundwork or framework level as you start to foster. Yeah, starting with that.
I know with our adoption, we have 2 adopted children, and when I was reading the file, especially with our son, there were some things I read in there that were really hard to read. Really hard to read. Very, just not good. And it did give me that feeling. It did give me that feeling of wanting to protect him. But then when I became much more familiar with the country where he was born and the system that he was in, I realized that most likely it was that the birth parents were orphans themselves who had been caught up in this generational system. And yes, he had been pulled out of that, but he hadn't been pulled away from bad people. He had just been pulled up from a really, really tough system. Yeah.
And something I love about children's services is they have team meetings, and the idea is that everybody's coming around the table. The foster parents, the biological parents, the social workers, the guardian ad litem, the advocates for the kids.
Yes.
And we're a team. We're a team for the safety of this child and for this family. And that's what I always tell our birth mom. I always say, you have 2 moms. Like, we both are moms. She's the other mom. Like, you have 2 moms. And so, and I'm on her team.
Yeah.
And I'm on these girls' teams. And I don't have to view her as a threat.
Yeah.
She's my friend.
Right.
And over this process, it's only grown us closer together.
Yeah.
What advice might you give someone who's watching, who's considering fostering or adoption?
My advice would be to take the next step. So when Cody and I began this journey 4 years ago, we had 2 littles. We had a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old at the time, or 4-year-old. And we were living in a 2-bedroom house. So we were like, God, is this what you would have us do next? Well, what would be the next step? Well, we would have to get a bigger house. And so not that you don't need a huge house to be in foster care, to be a foster parent. You can have a small house, but we knew that we needed a little bit more space to give that child some space. And so we just said, God, would you open the door for us? If this is what you would have for our family, would you open the door and show us another house that would be suitable for our whole family? And he did. And it was step by step. We would just kept saying, yes, God, shut the door if this isn't what you want. Open it if this is what you want. And he just kept opening it until the point when we got the phone call and we were like, God, literally 3 weeks ago, we were just still saying, okay, God, what's next? And then we get a phone call from Children's Services saying, hey, we have 2 girls that need a home that are currently in a temporary housing. And so I just see that over and over again, and that would be my advice, is just take the next step. God's putting it in your heart for a reason, whether that's to support a foster family or to be the foster parents.
Yeah. And the process can seem daunting when you're thinking about getting licensed. I mean, you have to do training hours and home studies, and people are in your home, and but really those are such small details that you can do it. It's okay. And thinking about just laying your life down, it's like the very beginning piece of like my daughter. I asked my 8-year-old what was challenging about being a foster family, and she said, sometimes you can't do what you want because the kids have other needs. Yeah. And that starts at the very beginning. And so just one step at a time, just do the next thing, and the timing will be his timing.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to plan it all out before you start.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh, you made me think of something, but it's gone out of my head. So I'll just ask you another question. And that is, what have been the resources that have been the most life-giving to each of you on your journey?
my number one would be community. And a lot of that is focused around our church family. People who have supported us with meals and and childcare and just listening ears, but also just having people on your team. So my husband travels a lot, and so I need people that can literally come at any time of day if something happens, and God has just brought those people. And it's taken me like seeking them out. I mean, saying, okay, here's what I need, who can help? And people are coming out of the woodwork, but I have to ask. I have to be the one. And another to go along with that is a foster adoptive support group that we have in our community. So just focusing on being with others, walking alongside, doing this together so that you're not alone. Those are two tangible supports. There's been two books along my journey that have really, I feel like, set the solid foundation for me as we were beginning. And one is called Reframing Foster Care by Jason Johnson, and another one is called Replanted by Jen Hook. So they just really give a good, I'd say, theology behind what God is calling us to do in orphan care. And so highly recommend reading these before you start journeying into foster parenting.
That's wonderful, and we'll make sure that we link those books to our website so that you can check those out for yourself.
Two books that I love that are like, and we're in the midst and trauma informed, are The Body Keeps the Score.
Yes.
Highly
I've
recommend.
heard of that.
And then also there is another book, The Connected Child.
Okay.
Also really good. Helps walk you through how to handle different behaviors and how trauma affects the brain.
Okay.
Super
Good. The Connected Child and The Body Keeps the Score, Replanted, and Reframing Foster Care.
I would say the biggest lesson that I've learned through fostering is that God is sovereign all the time.
Yes.
And not only do I have to believe that, but I have to depend on it in foster care. So there's no false pretense of like, oh, I'm kind of in control of things. Like, no.
Right.
Every day I know
Right.
that I am in control of absolutely nothing, and that He is. So He is never surprised, ever. And fostering just shows you that every single day.
And you don't need any special qualifications.
No.
You take classes and you do these things, but you don't need a special degree in order to be a foster parent. You just have to have a willing heart.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Well, friends, God's word is very clear about His heart for the orphan. In Psalm 68:5, it says, "A father to the fatherless, a defender of widows, is God in His holy dwelling." We pray that today's interview has been an encouragement to you, and that if you are considering fostering or adopting at all, that this has provided you the information that you've needed in order to move forward.
Yes, ladies, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your stories with us. Friends, we will be posting these resources shared today, so check out our website. And next week, we're going to be wrapping up our guest VIP list. So you don't want to miss our interview. We will be interviewing psychologist Dr. Don Litchie as he shares with us a little bit about legacy. How to leave a legacy for your family and friends. You're not going to want to miss it. So do tune in. In the meantime, may your week be sublime and free above the fray.